Ian Lindsay of Lindsay and Associates has played an active role in the local community since 1979. He has been with RE/MAX, Vancouver Island's most advanced real estate business network, since 1996, marketing and selling residential, rural, strata, recreational, investment, and project development real estate. Ian has received several awards recognizing his exceptional community commitment locally, as well as awards for outstanding performance and achievement from both RE/MAX International and the Vancouver Island Real Estate Board. You'll find true real estate professionals at ianlindsay.ca.
In a little town by the sea where the stories never end, lived Captain Dave and his crew, every child's favorite friend, with a smile as wide as the ocean and a heart that's full of dreams. He sails a mellow submarine where magic gleams and beams. Every morning at sunrise, when the world awakes anew, Captain Dave and his crew set sail in waters deep and blue. Through the ticking clock of time, where adventures come alive, they laugh and learn and play each day in their underwater dive. Captain Dave and the Mellow Submarine.
Captain Dave stretched his arms wide and took a deep breath of the salty ocean air. His bright yellow submarine, the Mellow Submarine, bobbed gently in the harbor. The submarine wasn't very big, about the size of a school bus, but it was painted the happiest shade of yellow you could imagine, with round windows like friendly eyes and a cheerful red propeller that spun merrily through the water. "Larry," called Captain Dave, adjusting his blue captain's hat with the golden anchor pin, "are you ready for our adventure to Tofino?" Out from behind the submarine's periscope popped Larry, the lobster, Captain Dave's very best friend and first mate. Larry was a magnificent, bright red lobster with the biggest, kindest eyes and two sturdy claws that were perfect for helping with all sorts of submarine tasks. "Aye, aye, Captain!" Larry clicked his claws together excitedly. "I've been dreaming about seeing those famous Tofino beaches all week. I heard the waves there are so perfect, they sparkle like diamonds in the sunshine." Captain Dave smiled. He and Larry had been sailing together for 3 years now, ever since the day Larry helped him fix a broken propeller near Coral Reef Cove. They made the perfect team. Captain Dave was excellent at steering and reading maps, while Larry was wonderful at spotting interesting sea creatures and keeping the submarine ship-shape. "Well then, my friend," said Captain Dave, climbing down through the submarine's round hatch, "let's begin our journey. Tofino's beautiful beaches are waiting for us." Larry scuttled down after him, his claws making happy clicking sounds on the submarine's metal ladder. Inside the Mellow Submarine, everything was cozy and bright. The walls were painted a soft sea green color, and there were comfortable cushions everywhere. The control panel had big, colorful buttons and screens that showed maps of the ocean. There was even a little kitchen where Captain Dave could make sandwiches and where Larry kept his collection of smooth, pretty shells. Captain Dave sat in his captain's chair and pressed the big green start button. The submarine's engine made a gentle humming sound, like a giant cat purring. Larry took his place at the navigation station, where he could look out through the special periscope and help spot any interesting sights. As they traveled through the ocean, Captain Dave and Larry marveled at all the wonderful things they saw. Schools of silver fish swam alongside their submarine like a shimmering parade. A family of dolphins played in the distance, leaping joyfully out of the water and diving back down with graceful splashes. "Look, Captain Dave!" Larry pointed with one of his claws toward a group of sea otters floating on their backs. "They're holding hands so they don't drift apart while they sleep. Isn't that the sweetest thing?" Captain Dave steered the submarine closer so they could watch the adorable otters. "That's one of my favorite things about the ocean, Larry. There's always something wonderful to discover." They had been traveling for about 2 hours when Larry noticed something strange ahead of them. "Captain Dave," he said, his voice sounding a little worried, "do you see that gray cloud sitting on the water up ahead?" Captain Dave looked through the submarine's front window and saw exactly what Larry was talking about. A thick, gray blanket of fog was stretched across the ocean like a huge, fluffy wall. It was so thick they couldn't see through it at all. "That's quite a fog bank," Captain Dave said thoughtfully. "But don't worry, Larry. The Mellow Submarine has excellent navigation equipment. We'll just use our compass and our depth sonar to guide us through." Larry trusted Captain Dave completely, but he couldn't help feeling a little nervous as they approached the wall of fog. "How long do you think it will take to get through it?" "Probably just a few minutes," Captain Dave said confidently. "Fog usually doesn't stretch very far out to sea." But as the Mellow Submarine entered the fog, both Captain Dave and Larry realized this wasn't going to be as easy as they'd hoped. Inside the fog, everything looked the same. The world outside their windows had turned into a swirling gray soup. Captain Dave couldn't see the sun, which meant he couldn't tell which direction was north. Even worse, the fog seemed to be playing tricks with their instruments. "That's odd," Captain Dave muttered, tapping the compass with his finger. "This compass keeps spinning around like it can't make up its mind." Larry pressed his face against the periscope window, but all he could see was gray mist. "Captain Dave, I can't see anything at all. Not even the water beneath us is visible." They had been traveling through the fog for 30 minutes, which should have been plenty of time to reach the other side. Captain Dave was starting to worry that they had gotten turned around somehow. Maybe they were going around in circles, or maybe they were heading out to the deep ocean instead of toward Tofino's beaches. "Don't worry, Larry," Captain Dave said, trying to sound calm, even though he was feeling concerned too. "We just need to think this through carefully." Larry scuttled over to the map table and spread out their big chart of the coastal waters. "According to this map, we should be very close to Tofino by now, but with all this fog, we can't see any landmarks." Captain Dave studied the map with Larry. They could see that Tofino was located on the coast, surrounded by small islands, and protected by a beautiful lighthouse that sat on a rocky point. The lighthouse was famous throughout the region for helping ships find their way safely to shore. "The lighthouse!" Captain Dave exclaimed suddenly. "Larry, every lighthouse sends out special signals to help boats navigate. If we can detect the Tofino lighthouse's signal, it will guide us straight to the harbor." Larry's eyes lit up with excitement. "That's a brilliant idea, Captain. But how do we find the lighthouse signal in all this fog?" Captain Dave hurried over to the submarine's communication panel. Every lighthouse has its own unique pattern of light flashes and radio beeps. The Tofino lighthouse sends out a special signal every 30 seconds. 3 quick flashes, then a pause, then one long flash. We just need to listen carefully and watch for any light. They turned off all the lights inside the submarine and sat very quietly, listening and watching. For several minutes, they heard nothing but the gentle hum of their engine and the sound of water flowing past their hull. Just when Larry was starting to worry that they might never find the lighthouse, he saw something wonderful. "Captain Dave," he whispered excitedly, "I see a light. It's very faint, but it's definitely a light." Captain Dave rushed to the window and looked in the direction Larry was pointing. Sure enough, there was a soft glow coming through the fog. As they watched, the light flashed 3 times quickly, paused, then flashed once more for a longer time. "That's it!" Captain Dave cheered. "That's the Tofino lighthouse. We found it!" But their celebration was short-lived. As Captain Dave tried to steer the submarine toward the lighthouse signal, he realized they had a new problem. The fog was so thick that even though they could see the lighthouse's light, they couldn't tell exactly how far away it was or what direction to go. "We can see the light, but we're still lost," Larry said sadly. "The fog is making everything look confusing." Captain Dave sat back in his captain's chair and thought hard. They needed help from someone who knew these waters well, someone who could guide them safely through the fog to the lighthouse. Just then, they heard a sound that made them both smile, a loud, friendly barking noise coming from somewhere outside their submarine. "Sea lions!" Larry exclaimed happily. "There are sea lions nearby!" Captain Dave opened the submarine's communication speakers and called out into the foggy water. "Hello, sea lions! This is Captain Dave of the Mellow Submarine. We're trying to reach Tofino, but we're lost in this fog. Can you help us?" The largest sea lion, a magnificent creature with wise brown eyes and long whiskers, swam up to the submarine's main window. Captain Dave waved, and to his delight, the sea lion waved back with one of its flippers. "I think they want to help us," Larry said excitedly. Captain Dave had an idea. He steered the submarine very slowly and carefully in the direction of the lighthouse signal. Sure enough, the sea lions began swimming alongside them, barking encouragingly whenever Captain Dave steered in the right direction, and swimming ahead of them when he needed to change course. The smallest sea lion, who seemed very young and playful, kept doing little loops and spins around the submarine, as if he was so excited to help that he couldn't contain his energy. The middle-sized sea lion swam directly in front of them, checking for any rocks or obstacles that might be hidden in the fog. "They're like our own personal lighthouse team," Larry observed happily. With the sea lions guiding them, and the lighthouse signal growing stronger, Captain Dave felt much more confident. The Mellow Submarine moved slowly but steadily through the gray fog, following their new friends toward safety. Every 30 seconds, the lighthouse signal flashed its pattern. 3 quick flashes, pause, 1 long flash. And every time it did, the sea lions barked happily, as if they were saying, "This way, keep coming this way." After what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes, Larry noticed something wonderful happening. The fog around them was starting to get a little bit lighter. "Captain Dave," he called out, "I think we're almost through the fog. Look how much brighter it's getting." Sure enough, the thick gray mist was beginning to thin out. They could start to see the water around them more clearly, and the lighthouse signal was becoming much brighter and easier to follow. The sea lions seemed to sense that Captain Dave and Larry were almost safe. They began barking and splashing more excitedly, swimming in joyful circles around the submarine. And then, suddenly, the Mellow Submarine burst out of the fog bank into brilliant, beautiful sunshine. "We made it!" Captain Dave and Larry shouted together. The first thing they saw was the magnificent Tofino lighthouse, standing tall and proud on a rocky point. It was painted bright white with a red top, and its powerful light was still flashing its helpful signal, even in the bright daylight. Beyond the lighthouse, they could see the famous Tofino beaches, long stretches of golden sand, where gentle waves sparkled like diamonds in the sunshine, just as Larry had dreamed. The 3 sea lions popped their heads out of the water near the submarine and barked what sounded like a cheerful goodbye. Captain Dave and Larry waved enthusiastically from their windows. "Thank you, sea lions," called Captain Dave. "We couldn't have made it without you." "You're the best navigators in the whole ocean," added Larry. The sea lions barked happily one more time, then dove beneath the waves and swam back toward their home among the coastal rocks. Captain Dave guided the submarine into the peaceful harbor, where several other boats were anchored. There were fishing boats with colorful flags, sailboats with tall masts, and even a few other submarines like theirs. As they prepared to anchor the Mellow Submarine, an elderly fisherman in a small rowboat came over to greet them. He had kind eyes and a white beard, and he was wearing a weathered cap that looked like it had seen many sea adventures. "Welcome to Tofino," the fisherman called out cheerfully. "I saw you coming through the fog bank. That was some thick weather out there. Hope you didn't have too much trouble." Captain Dave opened the submarine's hatch and climbed up to talk to the friendly fisherman. Larry popped his head up too, waving his claws in greeting. "We got a little lost," Captain Dave admitted, "but the lighthouse signal and some very helpful sea lions guided us safely to shore." The fisherman chuckled. "Ha ha, you must have met Barker, Splash, and Little Flipper. Those 3 sea lions have been helping lost boats for years. They know those waters better than anyone, and they love helping travelers find their way." "Barker, Splash, and Flipper," Larry repeated thoughtfully. "What perfect names! We'll have to remember to thank them properly if we see them again." That evening, as Captain Dave and Larry sat on the deck of their submarine, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and orange, they talked about their adventure. "I was scared when we got lost in that fog," Larry admitted, "but you stayed calm and figured out how to find help." Captain Dave nodded. "I was worried too, my friend, but I learned something important today. When we're lost or in trouble, we don't have to solve everything by ourselves. Sometimes the best thing to do is ask for help from others who know more than we do." "Like the lighthouse keeper who keeps the signal flashing to help boats find their way," Larry said. "And like Barker, Splash, and Flipper, who knew exactly how to guide us through the fog," Captain Dave added. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, listening to the gentle sound of waves lapping against the harbor dock. In the distance, they could see the Tofino lighthouse beginning its evening routine, sending out its faithful signal to help any boats that might be traveling through the darkness. "Captain Dave," Larry said thoughtfully, "do you think we could stay here for a few days? I'd love to explore those beautiful beaches and maybe meet some of the local sea creatures." The next morning, Captain Dave and Larry woke up to the sound of gentle waves and singing seabirds. The fog had completely cleared overnight, and Tofino looked even more beautiful in the bright morning sunshine. After a breakfast of seaweed pancakes, Larry's favorite, and fresh fruit, they decided to explore the area around the harbor. Captain Dave put on his swimming gear, and Larry simply used his natural lobster abilities to breathe underwater. As they swam near the rocky coastline, they heard familiar barking sounds. Sure enough, Barker, Splash, and Little Flipper came swimming over to greet them, looking delighted to see their new friends again. "Hello again," Captain Dave called out, treading water near the friendly sea lions. Barker, the large sea lion with the wise eyes, swam close and gently nudged Captain Dave with his nose, as if to say, "Welcome to our neighborhood." Splash, the middle-sized sea lion, dove down and came back up with a beautiful piece of sea glass, smooth and green like an emerald. She offered it to Larry, who accepted it gratefully. "This is beautiful," Larry said, holding the sea glass up to the morning light. "Thank you, Splash." Little Flipper was so excited to have visitors that he kept doing somersaults in the water, making Captain Dave and Larry laugh with delight. As they played and explored with their new sea lion friends, Captain Dave and Larry discovered many wonderful things about Tofino's underwater world. There were forests of tall kelp swaying like underwater trees, colorful sea anemones that looked like flowers, and schools of bright fish that moved together like living rainbows. After a wonderful week in Tofino, Captain Dave and Larry decided it was time to head home. They had explored the beautiful beaches, made new friends with the sea lions, helped several other boats that had gotten into minor troubles, and collected many beautiful shells and pieces of sea glass. On their last morning, Barker, Splash, and Little Flipper came to the harbor to say goodbye. The sea lions barked sadly, as if they were sorry to see their friends leave. "Don't be sad," Larry told them, clicking his claws gently. "We'll come back to visit you soon, and whenever we're traveling near Tofino, we'll always remember how you helped us find our way safely home." Captain Dave promised the sea lions that they would return, and Little Flipper did one final somersault that made everyone laugh. As the Mellow Submarine left Tofino's harbor and headed home, the weather was perfect, bright and clear with no fog in sight. Captain Dave and Larry could see the lighthouse clearly in the distance, still faithfully flashing its helpful signal for any travelers who might need guidance. "You know what, Larry?" Captain Dave said as they cruised through the sparkling blue water. "I think getting lost in that fog was one of the best things that ever happened to us." "How can getting lost be a good thing?" Larry asked curiously. "Because if we hadn't gotten lost, we would never have learned to ask for help. We never would have met Barker, Splash, and Flipper." Larry thought about this and realized Captain Dave was absolutely right. So sometimes getting a little lost can lead us to find something even better than what we were originally looking for. "Exactly," Captain Dave smiled. "And now we know that no matter where our adventures take us, we're never really alone. There are always lighthouses to guide us and friends like the sea lions to help us find our way." As the Mellow Submarine continued its journey home, Captain Dave and Larry began planning their next adventure. But they both knew that wherever they went, they would always remember their foggy day in Tofino and the important lessons they had learned about friendship, helping others, and finding your way home.
When the night falls softly and stars light up the sky, Captain Dave tucks his crew in with a gentle lullaby. Dreams of whales and mermaids, of treasures lush and green, await each little sailor aboard the Mellow Submarine.
Ian Lindsay of Lindsay and Associates has played an active role in the local community since 1979. He has been with RE/MAX, Vancouver Island's most advanced real estate business network, since 1996, marketing and selling residential, rural, strata, recreational, investment, and project development real estate. Ian has received several awards recognizing his exceptional community commitment locally, as well as awards for outstanding performance and achievement from both RE/MAX International and the Vancouver Island Real Estate Board. You'll find true real estate professionals at ianlindsay.ca.